Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Off the Charts with 180 Markets. Ragusa. I love saying that name, and I love saying that name, especially when there's good news. Jerko Zuvela, welcome back to Off the Charts with 180 Markets. Jerko, it hasn't been that long since you've been on. I think it's been about 6 weeks, but boy, has the company changed. Can you just tell us a little bit about what's going on in the Northern Territory with the Lithium Project?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me on. And probably feels a little bit longer than 6 weeks since we spoke, but yeah, it's probably around the time we announced the acquisition of our Northern Territory Lithium Project. So it's been pretty busy, pretty hectic. So I really appreciate your time today and reaching out and being able to share a little bit of an update with our shareholders and interested parties. So yeah, obviously we announced the transaction back in May, late May. Probably didn't coincide with great timing in the lithium markets, given that a week or so later, the Goldman Sachs and a few of those large investment banks probably put a little bit of a spanner in the works in terms of potential lithium prices and demand and so forth. But I think that's all sort of been put to bed. I think a lot of smarter people than perhaps the guys that wrote a bit of that analysis have come out and suggested otherwise. So I think that sort of calmed the lithium markets a little bit. And that's why we're seeing, I guess, over the last month or so, a real pickup back in lithium, obviously on a Ragusa specific status. It was a little bit longer to get that back to perhaps where we sort of had a little bit of a run to off the back of the announcement, but we thought it would have been nice to have stabilized a little bit off that initial run. It didn't, but off the back of a little bit of news last week, we've been able to get a bit of interest back in the stock and probably be where we should have been over the last month or so as well, given that our project, very early days, but I'm very bullish about it. I think it's a project with great potential, given the fact that core is just up the road, and that what we're finding on our project with works to date, albeit very limited, is very similar to what core have found as well. We've got Lithium Plus as a neighbour as well, and they're at the moment out there drilling, and again their market cap is a factor or two above ours as well. So we think there's plenty of upside in being able to add value to the company through this project. It's very much has become our core and priority project. As we mentioned last week, we're preparing for drilling. We think we'll be able to replicate not only the historical results of drilling that's been identified and proven in our project area, but also obviously being able to sort of compare and contrast to these other companies, especially core, given they've done the most amount of work in the area. And obviously they've had a great success and great development strategy to achieve that success. And listen, we'd love to go and replicate what they've done, but we're obviously well behind the 8 ball in terms of how they've progressed. But we'll get the drilling started. We think from the works we've done, we've identified the outcropping pegmatites. We've obviously got approvals from our vendor who previously had those tenements approved for drilling. So we'll be able to start the drilling in the short while. It will actually be Made Drilling, our vendor that will be drilling for us. He's just on another job at the moment. Once he finishes that, obviously we'll be all guns blazing. So again, we're not quite sure of the timing, but we'll keep the market informed as we know and get confirmation from Made Drilling that we'll get out there and be able to start, and hopefully we'll continue drilling and not only sort of replicate and verify and validate the historical data, but would love to be able to drill along strike and step out and drill at depth and really try to put a work program or drill program in place that will outline not only the confirmation of historical works, but also look to put a resource together and really show that we've got a project. Like I said, I'm very bullish that this has got very much comparability to core and potentially Lithium Plus in future times. Hopefully we'll be able to surpass Lithium Plus's current stage of works, and we'll show more over the next few months with the additional drilling that we're looking to do. And like I said, build up that value gap in between us and some of our peers there, and really show that we've got a project that potentially we can take all the way through to development if the results sort of stack up to what we think they hopefully might be.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jerko, can you just tell us, how have you, because some companies, it takes them years to get things moving. You took on this project, I believe, in May. Here we are sitting in August. It's really, nothing. It's a matter of a number of weeks. How have you been able to progress it so quickly?
Oh, listen, Greg, I wouldn't say we've done it as quickly. I think, the hard part was identifying the project and acquiring the project, given, I guess lithium interest over the last 18 months has been, crazy. So to be able to go and pick up a project that has had historical works, that has identified these pegmatites that, we feel are, very similar to what others are finding in the area. That was the challenge. That took us a little bit longer than we planned. But, again, these tenements that May Drilling have had historical work. So off the back of those historical works, we've been able to really, sort of jump straight into drilling off the back of some of those works and some of our works on site to identify that, listen, when you're getting outcropping pegmatites, very easy to go and work out where you got to drill. There's not a lot of science to it, I guess. And that's the reason why we've been able to sort of hopefully get out there and have some success with the drill bit, because again, we're going to be targeting this stuff, albeit the stuff at surface is just an indicator. As we've seen from others, the high grade spodumene is probably a little bit deeper, probably down about 60 or 70 meters depth. And that's where we're going to be, really targeting to go and hit, these things that others have found and discovered. And that's what we're going to be looking to do. Obviously, as per our historical works and recent works, we've got this amblygonite on surface, which is very much high grade lithium. Again, we've got to work out if we can do something with that, because that's very much, something that's very positive for us with high grades. That's very exciting for us as well. So a bit of a dual sort of strategy of not only proving up the resource, but working out whether we can do something with this amblygonite near to surface and on surface that, might be, a little sort of side strategy or a little side hustle for us while we're drilling to see what we can do with this. But very much it's all about, the fact that it's at surface. We've got targets there. We will be drilling them at depth, and those historical works have gone a long way to helping us identify what's the right area and where we need to start.
Great. Hey, Jerko, there's lithium and there's lithium. Your grades, I mean, literally like every hole, I don't think that there's been anything under 2%. Even I think that you've had some crazy high numbers. Can you just explain to some people, because I don't think they're quite familiar with the differences in the grades and why it's so critically important?
Yeah, listen, always grade is important, I guess. The reason why we've got these high grades, as I mentioned, this amblygonite at surface. It's a lithium phosphate. So again, grades in a lithium phosphate can be higher than what spodumene grades are. And then obviously you've got different types of lithiums, zinweldites and lepidolites, and like I said, spodumene and amblygonite. The lithium content in these amblyganites is higher than it is in some of these others, and that's why we're getting these high grades, because it's at surface. And generally you got to drill to go and find spodumene or these other lithium hard rock sources. So again, at surface, able to sample them. We are targeting obviously spodumene. The spodumene is generally weathered in that sort of bino field where core and lithium plus and where we are. So again, we'll be targeting that at depth. And like you said, others have drilled and gotten up around that plus or minus 2% mark. Obviously, that's fantastic grades for lithium oxide. And that's what we'll be targeting. And like I said, obviously the high grade stuff, we'll work out, see if we can, have a separate or an aligned strategy with that as well, because that might be something that, we can look to develop in the short term, given the high grade nature, the fact that it's, close to surface. There might be something there that we can start a little bit sooner than the stuff that's a bit deeper down, and that we need to probably do a little bit more drilling on to really understand what the development potential is, albeit that we'll be very much targeting a resource as quickly as we can.
Yeah. Have you been surprised in just the gradings and I guess the consistency of them?
Listen, we obviously did not a lot, but a decent amount of DD as part of the acquisition process. We've got a vendor that's very well informed about this, given he's drilled it and knows a lot about the area and knows where these targets are. So listen, I'm not really surprised, and that's why I'm probably quite bullish on this project and think that, there is the development potential there to take this all the way to production, albeit, subject to a lot of work's been done prior to that to prove that up. But, listen, the historical works and the knowledge that May Drilling and Seamus, our vendor, has gives me confidence that, this is, potentially the lead company maker project that we've been looking for.
For sure. And, obviously we're going to talk even more about the lithium, but let's not forget that Ragusa has some other projects as well. I know it's not top of mind right now, but can you just refresh people a little bit out there?
Yeah, so we recently done some drilling at our Barracoppin halloysite project. So as we put in our quarterly recently, the update there was obviously we finished the drilling during the quarter. We've sampled and put those samples into the lab. They're currently getting assayed or analysed. It is a slightly different assay technique for halloysite. It's a lot more detailed and unfortunately costs a lot more than standard assaying for other minerals. So we've had to sort of composite certain samples to try to save a little bit of money. As you said, it's not our core project, but we want to advance that. We think we'll be able to put a resource together off the back of the drilling. That's our aim. Hopefully, as soon as the samples are being analysed, we'll get the results. We'll announce those results as soon as we get to hand. I think they're going to be hopefully comparable to what we've seen in our neighbours' property adjoining us, and then hopefully do the resource sort of calculation estimation works, which again we're sort of hoping that will outline something that is gives us another option to how we want to develop that project or advance that project. So that's very much something hopefully we'll achieve over the next coming months or so with waiting for those results and those estimation works. We've also got our Monte Cristo project in Alaska, which myself and my co-director Olaf Fredrickson visited about a month or so ago. Again, that's a gold copper project. Haven't done a lot of work there, but we've done a little bit of geophysics that we're getting processed at the moment and interpreted. There is some potential there, given our neighbours have got very large gold endowments in the neighbouring projects. We think the geophysics has helped where we need to target. It's that Old Man area, that the Old Man Diorite and Old Man Breccia, that might be sort of along the structural trend of Estelle's, of the Nova Minerals Estelle project, and also the Gold Mining Inc. project next door to us, where they've got some large ounces discovered. And then obviously Nova Minerals have got a very exciting project called RPM, and we're just to the very close to the boundary with that prospect, and we've got some targets down that way as well. So again, some very exciting times up in Alaska. It will take a little bit of time, obviously, given we haven't started the formal field works yet, but we're looking to do that hopefully this sort of coming period over the next month or two, pending weather conditions up in Alaska. But that's something we're working on as well. So yeah, a few things else going on, but like you said, the priority and best bang for buck at the moment is really our Northern Territory Lithium Project, and that's where our focus will be, albeit that we'd like to keep advancing on these sort of lesser projects, albeit that there might be something there in due course that might add a lot of value to the business as well.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously here at 180, we're always looking at supply demand. And I can say, as you touched on within the lithium space earlier, that some of the houses, they put out some negative research comments. But then when you talk to the actual traders like we do, like the Traxys, the Glencores, the people that are on the ground, they will all tell you there is an insatiable amount of demand. And these houses, they don't care about the next 2 to 3 months. What they care about is the next 2 to 3 to 10 years plus. And they will tell you that it is just insatiable. And hence why there's so much interest. Jerko, you must be working now about 20 hours a day. Between call it now and the end of the year, about how many meters of drilling is there going to take place? About how many holes are we going to get in the ground? Can you just be a little bit more specific at this point?
Yeah, so the MMP that we've got already approved, I think allows for about 21 drill holes. So whether we can sort of drill multiple sites off that drill hole, that location, we'll have to work out. But like I said, we've put in an amendment to that MMP, and hopefully we get that approved whilst we're drilling, and then that will give us additional targets to drill as well. We're initially targeting about 2,000 meters off the existing approved MMP, but obviously that will increase once the updated MMP gets approved by the regulatory authorities there. So listen, we'll drill as much as we need, like I said, to validate the historical data, and then go and do some resource drilling works to be able to provide prove up a resource estimate. So between 2,000 and 4,000 meters we'll be looking to achieve this year, which hopefully, like I said, will give us enough to do what we need to do to provide some very good updates to our shareholders. And like you said, that insatiable demand, I agree 100%. Obviously, with my Argosy hat on as well, we understand that very well. We hear exactly the same stuff. We speak to the same groups of people that I'm sure you speak to. And yes, like you said, it's not a 2 to 3 month window. It's not even a 2 to 3 year window. It's probably a end of decade window that people are looking how to secure supply. And just because your project's not ready today and there might be a window there to get that into development and production, but that's the sort of window that people are looking at, and that's what we want to be working towards, to achieving what these longer term or medium term type objectives are of these groups that do need this product. And we want to try to get in there and work to their timeframes and along their timeframes to try to secure those right arrangements with those key groups to really benefit from what we feel is a very good project.
Yeah, and just adding to that, as all the traders that we speak to, they are looking for these long-term offtake agreements. That's why you're seeing so many of them. So any of you out there, I know there are a lot of people on this call right now that have them. Let us know about them. At this point, Jerko, before I open it up to Q&A, do you just have any quick closing remarks? Because I want to keep a fair amount of time for questions.
No, listen, I think we've covered most things, so more than happy to just take the questions and go from there.
Got it. Okay, anybody, you can either raise your hand or just WhatsApp me. Any way you slice it is totally fine. Jerko, the first question I'm getting is about the depth of drilling, about how deep are you going to go?
So, like I said, we'll be targeting these pegmatite outcrops in the various prospects that we've identified. So obviously we'll step out, but ideally we'll be targeting, at the moment, the approvals and what we've got, we'll be targeting about 100 meters depth, but we'll potentially drill deeper as we step out to, like I said, it's the initial drill program was aimed at validation and verification of the historical data, but we'll add on to that with the additional approval to step out and look at that resource estimation drilling as well. And therefore we'll look to drill a bit deeper to like I said, have multiple intersections of the pegmatite bodies to be able to prove up a resource, like I said, at depth and along strike. So potentially 100 meters to commence with, but potentially deeper as well, given the results we get as we go ahead. Got it.
Dennis, I saw that you had put up your hand. Now you've taken it down, but if you want to put up again, I can allow you then to speak. But in the meantime, I'll just answer some questions coming through the chat room. I'm not sure how, from Jason, how long till you will need to raise? I'm not sure if you can answer that question precisely.
No, listen, we've got enough money to go and do all the works that we want to do this year. So, we're comfortable at the moment. We've got obviously some options that are in the money now. So we'll probably look at them being exercised. That will add the next round of funds that we need to continue that drilling into next year. So at the moment, we're looking pretty good for, having the funds we need to do to be as aggressive as we can at the Northern Territory project and those periphery projects as well.
Yeah, and well done, by the way, with that structure. Then another question is from Victor. Sorry, I'm just having trouble reading. Is it going to be spodumene or mica for the pegmatite body?
Yeah, we think it's a spodumene. That's what Core have outlined. So like I said, it's at depth. We've got this amblygonite at surface. The spodumene, we did find a bit of spodumene, weathered and depleted spodumene at surface. So that's a very good outcome, given that, most of the spodumene's being found at that sort of 60 to 70 meter depth mark. So, but that's the target. It's going to be spodumene that we're looking at.
Okay.
To identify, absolutely.
Somebody's asking me, how big could the potential resource be? Again, I know it's a vague question, but I'm always going to ask everything.
Yeah, listen, all we can go off is what our neighbours have got. Core's got a resource at the moment of 15 million tonnes. We know they're doing a lot of drilling to expand that. So again, it's not probably comparable to the WA lithium projects where they've got, very large resources, but I think it's shown that you don't need a huge resource to move these things into production. It's all about the right partners, the right strategy and the right team to develop a project. And I think that's probably more key than, having a huge resource that might last 100 years, like Core. Get enough to get started, and the best way to add value in this market at the moment and over coming years is to get into production, because that's where you make your most money while lithium prices are high, and show that real value, substantiate and build the fundamentals or add the fundamentals to the business to substantiate the value, and that's what we're looking to do. So we won't be mucking around. We'll be very much following that same strategy that Core have. We know the Core guys pretty well as well, so we'll be not working with them, but liaising with them and
right.
Just learning from them what they've done and try to fast track what we can at our end to maximise the benefit and maximise where these lithium prices are at the moment, and do what we can to take advantage of that.
Sure, no need to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
Jerko, someone's asking as well, timeline potentially to get into production. How long would it be?
Oh, well, again, just look at core. Again, every case is different.
Right.
It's, we're a little bit restricted, I guess, with drilling with the weather. We know we can only probably drill till about November when the wet season sets in. So, we'll do as much as we can until then. And then, take stocks, really do some good analysis works on those results and really plan for next year. But, hopefully, next year we can really give it a good drilling campaign again to really target what we need to do and that development strategy. And then you're in the hands of a little bit of the approvals processes, whether it's regulatory approvals, native title, indigenous approvals, all that sort of stuff. But again, like I said, have a look at core. That's probably the best sort of comparable, and we'll try to do what they've done. That's probably the easiest way to answer that without getting into trouble with, from anyone with giving anything that's, not announced or not possible or unlikely to happen. So yeah, best to follow what others have done and see if we can replicate that. That's our aim.
Right. And speaking of approvals, regulatory, obviously Australia, incredibly well-regulated environment. What approvals do you have and what approvals do you need?
Listen, we obviously have 4 tenements granted. We've got another tenement as part of this latest acquisition that's its application stage. We applied for 3 tenements ourselves earlier this year as well, so they're in application stage. So, that's got to go through the regulatory process to get approved, which is obviously native title agreements in place, obviously government approvals. In terms of actually getting into production, obviously you need a lot more. Like I said, we've got exploration drilling approvals, but you need to get a development approvals, environmental approvals, mining approvals, all that sort of stuff. And again, we'll be learning off core and understanding how they've gone about it. Like you said, Northern Territory, pretty consistent with how we operate here in WA. So again, we understand the process. The question is just how long it takes, and that's always the big one. But again, it's pretty standard regulatory process. Hopefully, we can provide them what they need as quickly as possible, and that's why we want to get to drilling. We want to prove up a resource. You got to put a mine plan together. You got to show a development pathway and the objectives and requirements for government approvals and all that's required about that. And at this stage, it's a little bit hard to answer, I suppose, because we haven't done it yet, and that's what we'll be working on.
Got it. Hey, Jerko, taking a turn from the Northern Territory Southwest, a question here. Can we hear a bit more about the halloysite project? What would a good outcome look like for the assay results, kaolin versus halloysite, et cetera?
Yeah, and I'm the kaolin halloysite expert. Again, I guess what we've always said with that project is, we don't probably need to go and find a huge resource. Potentially before the Lithium Project came in, it was maybe looking at a small scale development sort of pathway. Get into small scale operations, meet the market in terms of some of that halloysite demand. Obviously, there's a few others out there that have got those sort of projects. So again, it's trying to meet the market with the demand. What a project looks like I said, if you can go and find 30, 40, 50 million tons of halloysite / kaolin or that kaolinized material, and then working out how much halloysite you have, how much kaolin you have. Obviously, kaolin's, there's a few more companies on top of that who are mining kaolin. So whether there's an opportunity to go down that pathway or focus on the halloysite, the results will determine that. But again, we got to work out what's best bang for buck for us. Is spending time, money, and effort going down that pathway going to give us that best bang for buck in terms of shareholder value? We'll see. Again, we just got to wait for the results. But again, if we can prove up a decent resource, and given it's all shallow sort of stuff, and really it's finding a market for that product and working out, what that looks like, and is that economic and feasible to move into production, subject to getting all the approvals and the resources and all that sort of stuff as we know we need to. But like I said, I don't think it takes much, albeit you need to find a market, you need to find an off-taker, and you need to be committed to going down the process of moving that into production. But I don't think you need a lot at this point in time. The market's pretty small, so you don't want to overcapitalize on a project that might be too big for its own boots or for the market. So again, we're more than happy with a niche type project, which doesn't need a lot of resources.
Right. And also, can you just tell people there are a number of players in that area right around you, public companies?
Yeah, obviously Andromeda's a big one. Latin Resources is next door to us. They've got a big resource as well. You've got, a few other smaller ones that have established resources. So again, we're not Robinson Crusoe in this market. Obviously, when we picked up the project, maybe we thought we might be able to advance it a bit quicker, get that drilling done. By the time we got it shareholder approval back in September, we're still mucking around a little bit, getting it started. By the time we're sort of ready now to move it to the next stage, like I said, we've got the lithium. So let's just sort of weigh up and see where everything fits at the time of, sort of being at that next step and where we are with the other projects. So we'll see how it goes. But, the other guys, whether they're, going to be ahead of us or not, we'll weigh up where the market is, where others are, and see if there's a little gap in there for us to fit into. And if there is, we'll look to try to exploit that.
Fantastic. Hey, Jerko, we're just running tight on time here. Everybody, firstly, if you have any questions afterwards, just send them through to us. We'll make sure that Jerko asks them. A lot of times with these things, something always comes up after the fact. That's not a problem. But in the meantime, Jerko, just any final remarks for everybody?
No, listen, obviously it's been a little bit of a tough going for our long-term shareholders. We're doing our best. We're really going to sort of put our foot to the metal now and really move forward. We're building up a team in Alaska, here in WA, Northern Territory. So, now that I think we've got a project that we're very comfortable to spend our money on and invest in, and we think is going to return, a good return for our shareholders. That's what we've been looking for. That's what we've been working on. And now that we've got that, like I said, all guns blazing and really move forward. And I'm very confident about that project that, given my experience in the sector, we think we can take advantage of. And I'm very excited and looking forward to being able to do that up in the Northern Territory and with our other projects. And, hopefully we can add a lot of value to the business.
Fantastic. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We're always here. Jerko is very easy to, well, I wouldn't say very easy, but easy to ask questions to, and obviously knows his stuff very, very well. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time in the middle of the day. Bye now. Thanks for watching another episode of 180 Markets Off the Charts. If you want access to thousands of capital raises, sign up at 180markets.com.au and you'll get access to our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.